So today I'm going to share with you how to get abs for men after the age of 40. This is going to be a master class. So, hey, this is Urslan. I'm the creator of the Fit Body program, and welcome back to another episode of The Inner Game. This is the #1 show helping you master the mindset of losing weight, because weight loss is an inner game. So comment down below and let me know if you are tuning in live by commenting #live, or if you're catching me at a later time, comment #replay for the algorithm. Now, let's get right into it. I'm really excited. I have a presentation that I'm going to be sharing with you here today. So if you're new here and if you don't know who I am, like I said, I'm Urslan. I'm actually a certified personal trainer and nutritionist, and I wasn't always a certified trainer and nutritionist. I actually have a finance background, and I was much heavier than the photo that you're seeing here. I was actually well over 215 pounds about 7-8 years ago. And during that time, what got me into fitness was when my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And seeing the lifestyle shift my mom had, where the doctors just gave her a few months to live and she ended up living well beyond a few years, that really motivated me to take control of my own health. And that's when I hired my first coach, got into really great physical shape. And then pretty much after my mom passed away, I made the shift and leap into fitness from finance. And that's when I began to work as a trainer and a nutritionist at some point as well. I went off working independently. And now with the start of COVID and the pandemic for 2.5 years, everything shifted. I transitioned out of training into coaching, which is what I do now, and which is where you've seen all the results that we've gotten, all of our members as well. So I'm actually just going to enlarge this a little bit more. Okay, great. So with that said, I'd like to share with you just a few of the transformations that we've gotten our members, especially after that 40 or 40 age range. So this is Daniel Burns, 40 years old, went from 213 down to 183. We have Salvatore Tenervia, who is 44 years old. We have Bert McGee, who is 45 years old. We have Anthony Arrico, who was 54 years old when he achieved this transformation. He's now 55 years old. And then we have, I should be saying young, 55 years young. And then we have Ted Carcass, who is 62 years young. So I wanted to share a few of these transformations with you because if you don't know my background, I specialize in the Fit Body program. We specialize in helping guys get abs. That's what we're really good at. So how do we get abs after the age of 40? There are 3 keys that we need to understand. #1 is mindset. And the reason why mindset is so important is because 80% of success in any endeavor we undertake comes down to the mindset, the psychology. Only 20% comes down to the actual strategy, the mechanics, such as the exercise and the nutrition. So the first thing that we need to begin with is the mindset. And one thing that I didn't understand for a long time when I was looking to get into shape myself, when I was doing things like sit-ups and starving myself, what I didn't know is what a lot of guys don't know, is that you already have 6-pack abs. They're already there. A lot of the guys I speak to don't even think it's possible to get a 6-pack, let alone to lose weight and keep it off as a forever lifestyle. You already have 6-pack abs. Anatomically, they're already there. They just get covered by layers of fat. Sort of like, I like to say, a blue sky. The blue sky is always there in the morning. It just gets covered by gray clouds, especially if you're out in New York like I am. So really, abs are not built. They're not made. They're revealed, right? Because again, they're already there. They're just getting covered by fat. And here's where the challenge arises. Belly fat is not normal fat. It's what's known as visceral fat. It's that hidden fat, deep protecting your vital organs. And the reason why we begin to accumulate visceral fat is because of something known as metabolic slowdown. And where a visceral fat begins to accumulate is in the man boob area, is in the belly fat area, and the love handle area. So all these areas here. And you very likely have heard that you can't target fat. where fat leaves your body is based on genetics. That is true. Having said that, you can reverse metabolic slowdown and thereby indirectly target visceral fat. And what I want to bring to your attention is when I was working as an in-person trainer at Equinox, we would oftentimes do these in-body, in-depth assessments with our clients where we can figure out how much they weigh, what their lean body mass was relative to how much body fat they had, and water weight, you name it. We can figure it all out. And one thing I found really interesting was the people that were coming that weighed around 220 pounds, 230 pounds, whatever the case may be, they had a ton of muscle on their body, right? 162 pounds of muscle in this specific scenario. And just for some context, in this photo here, I weighed like 158. So this person has way more muscle on their body than I do. But they also have way more fat on their body than I do. So once we were able to reverse the metabolic slowdown, the visceral fat began to come off, and then the washboard abs that were already there began to reveal themselves. So that's the first step, is with the mindset, understanding that you already have six-pack abs and you need to reveal your washboard abs as opposed to work on getting them. And that helps us to understand that, wait a minute, this is a possibility for us to do. It is possible for us to achieve this result at 40, 50, even 60 years old, 60 years young. Next is exercise. Now, when we talk about exercise, like I was mentioning earlier, it's not possible to target fat, right? Where you lose body fat is determined based off of genetics, which is why sit-ups, these things don't work. You can do them 100 sit-ups a day and you will not see changes happen in your midsection. So if that's the case, how do you begin to indirectly target the visceral fat and begin to reduce your midsection and begin to reveal the abs? And the answer is to do something called type 2 muscle fiber training. Now, when you exercise, there are different muscles that are firing. When you're doing things like cardio, jogging, and running, you're not activating the type 2 muscle fibers that are necessary to begin to boost your metabolism. So metabolic boosting exercise, such as type 2 training with weightlifting and fast HIIT training or interval style training, this is the style of training that's going to boost your metabolism. So what does that look like practically? That looks like lifting weights. I have our guys lift weights around 3 times a week. Some do more, I even have someone do less. So just for some context, Danny's transformation, this was twice a week at the gym. Sal's transformation was a combination of at home and at the gym, but he was using weights in both places. Burt McGee's transformation was at the gym using weights. In all of these cases, we did little to no cardio, little to no running, little to no jogging, if any at all. Anthony's case, this was all done at home. And then Ted's case, this was all done at the gym. So we can begin to see the role that weightlifting plays. And then the next part of this is fast HIIT training, which is an interval style of training where you go for a short controlled period of time, followed by a short controlled rest period for an extended period of time, which we'll get back to in just a second. Really quickly, I want to do this exercise with you. How much do you think this fat weighs versus this muscle? If you had to take a guess of how much this weighs, what would you put? Write it down in the chat. Okay, now that you've given your best guess, I'll reveal to you that these two weigh the exact same. The muscle weighs 1 pound, the fat weighs 1 pound. And oftentimes you hear people say muscle weighs more than fat. That's not true. Think about it this way. 1 pound of muscle equals 1 pound of fat, which equals 1 pound of feathers or anything else for that matter. What is true, however, as you can see, is that muscle is smaller in size than fat. And I'm going to share with you the practical application of why this is so important. Everything I'm sharing with you, by the way, today is practical application that you can begin to implement right away. So the second exercise I want to do with you is, out of these 6 women, who do you think weighs the most and who do you think weighs the least? Again, type it in the chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Who do you think weighs the most and who do you think weighs the least? Now, I will reveal to you that these women weigh all, in fact, the same exact weight, which is 70 kilograms. Now, what's also true is that their body composition is very different. Some of them are taller, some of them have more muscle, some of them have more fat, but they all weigh the same amount. So we can begin to see how this plays a role in the body. And then we'll do this one final exercise here. How much weight do you think this woman lost from the left to the right in the course of 4 years? How much weight do you think this woman lost? Again, you can type it in the chat. 0 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, you name it. And again, I'm going to reveal to you that she actually gained 3 kilograms. She actually gained weight from the left to the right, but as you can see, she looks leaner. And that's the power of taking photos. That's the power of looking at your body as opposed to just relying on the scale. Now, the scale is important. We're going to get to that in just a second. We do want to get that number down, especially if you're in that overweight, obese category. We need to get that number down. But at some point, the pictures take precedent over the scale. Now, going back to the fast hit training, going back to the weightlifting and type 2 muscle fiber training, why is this superior? Why does this work so well at reducing the visceral fat? Well, it's because of this chart right here. When you do things like fast hit training, when you do things like weightlifting, what you're creating is something known as oxygen debt. Oxygen debt. Just like if you're in debt, as an example, you have to pay that debt back. Very much in the same way, when you're doing fast hit training, let's say for 15 minutes, you're not only burning calories for those 15 minutes, you're continuously burning calories for 24 hours afterwards. There's an afterburn effect because of something known as EPOC, excess post-oxygen consumption. As your body tries to return to baseline, it's burning a ton of calories in order to do so. So you're residually reaping the benefits of your fat burning. Now, this does not happen with cardio. This does not happen with jogging. This does not happen with running. And what this is going to help you do is burn calories all throughout the day. And I like to think about it almost like burning coal. If you burn coal for 30 minutes, as an example, it doesn't cool down right away, right? It stays hot for a period of time after. And that's what this style of training is doing to your metabolism. It's revving it up so high that you're not only burning calories while doing the workouts, but you're continuously burning calories after as well. And we're going to get back to this in just a second. So again, a lot of people say there's no way to target fat loss. And that's true. But you can begin to indirectly target belly fat loss. Who I'm showing you here right now is Brendan Gorman. As you can see, there's a drastic change in his belly in these two photos. It almost looks like all the weight came off from his belly. And that's the power of this style of training. Well, now, of course, it's not just the exercise, it's also the nutrition. And that's where the body type nutrition comes into play. So all this means is based on your height, your age, your weight, your current level of activity, there's a certain amount your body is burning and a certain amount you need to be eating, a certain amount of protein you need to be having in order to reach your goal and to begin to create a lifestyle change. So as an example, let's say that your body burns 2,500 calories per day. That's your total daily energy expenditure. And you're eating 2,000 calories a day. So you're in a 20% energy balance, negative energy balance. Now, what makes up your total expenditure? Your intake is what you're eating, of course. But what actually makes up your total energy expenditure for the day? It's everything here. So by the way, feel free to pause this. Feel free to rewatch some of these. This is a lot to take in. So your calorie burn is made up of these 4 pillars here that you see. Number 1 is EAT on the top. Exercise activity thermogenesis. That's the amount of calories your body burns from actual physical exercise. That can be cardio, that can be weightlifting, whatever the case may be. You only burn 10% of your calories from exercise. A lot of the Apple Watches and fitness gears are drastically inaccurate in how many calories you're burning. Drastically inaccurate. Only 10% of your caloric burn comes from exercise. And you're going to see here why exercise programs fail and diets fail because of this, what I'm going to share with you. The next 15% is TEF, the thermic effect of food. This is the amount of calories your body breaks down in breaking down food. This is why if you undereat, you're putting yourself at a drastic disadvantage. And then the third thing here is NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is the non-purposeful movement, like the amount of calories I'm burning right now as I'm waving my head and my hands around. Non-purposeful movement. Walking is also included in non-purposeful movement. It's not considered exercise. And you burn 20% of your calories every single day from these activities. This is why the 10,000 steps, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 steps, whatever the case may be, that's why this is important, because it's going to help you with your caloric burn. But none of that compares. It all pales in comparison to the BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. This is the amount of calories your body burns just to keep the lights on. This is your base metabolism. And this is why people end up yo-yoing. And this is why I was stuck for a very long time in my own weight loss, because I would try to starve myself and do sit-ups by anchoring my feet onto a bed platform. This is why I was stuck, because I didn't know about this. So this is what happens when you begin to yo-yo with your weight loss. Your body should be burning 2,500 calories per day. But because of starvation diets and low carb diets and keto and intermittent fasting and starvation and whatever the case may be, you begin to slow down your base metabolism. Think about it logically. If you're not eating, your body doesn't have as much of a reason to burn the same amount of calories that it used to. So it's saying, wait a minute, there's not enough food coming into the environment. I'm going to slow my metabolism down, right? Metabolic slowdown. That's why it happens. A part of why it happens. And then your body goes into, this is essentially your body going into survival mode. There's not enough resources in the environment. So your body should be burning 2,500 calories a day. And now it only starts burning 1,500 calories a day. It makes you feel super hungry and super tired. And most people don't even eat 1,500 calories a day. Whereas you need that just to stay alive and function properly. We're talking libido, sex drive, focus, energy, you name it. You need just a baseline just to stay alive and function as a healthy adult. And so all of a sudden now, if you're eating 2,000 calories and your body's only burning 1,500, you're in a 25% surplus of an energy balance. So we can begin to see how problematic this is. And the way we're going to begin to reverse this metabolic slowdown is not only through the type 2 muscle fiber training, but also through the body type nutrition that I'm going to share with you here. Now, you very likely have heard of macronutrients, macros, and this could be a bit confusing, but very simply what it means, it's the type of food that your body needs to sustain function, such as protein, carbs, fats. These are the three macronutrients, macros. Now, how much of each do you need to begin this process of metabolic reversal, to reverse the metabolic slowdown? And the answer is it depends on your height, your age, your weight, your current level of activity, and where you're at. So for most people, it's anywhere from 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if we're using that example of the person that we referenced earlier that weighs just around 220 pounds, for that person, if we did 0.8 times 220 pounds, we come out to around 180 grams of protein. Now, what determines whether you need 0.8 or 1 gram? Because you could weigh 260, and like that's a lot of freaking protein. Well, the good news is the heavier you are, the more prone your body is to losing fat. The leaner you are, the more prone your body is to losing muscle. So the heavier you are, the less protein you need. You could stick with like 0.7, 0.8. The leaner you are, the more protein you need, around 1 gram of protein. The next macro that we're going to cover is fat. Again, the heavier you are, the more dietary fat you need. The leaner you are, the less dietary fat you need. So let's say in that person's scenario and case, they're having around 30% of their 2,000 calories coming from fat. And then the final bit is carbs. The rest is filled with carbs. So in this scenario, we're eating 2,000 calories per day, 180 grams of protein, 170 grams of carbs, 67 grams of fat. Now, of these numbers, the most important are the calories and the protein. As long as these two numbers are in check, these two numbers can be whatever. Now, having said that, it is still important to watch what you're eating because not all calories are created equal. And I've done a full-blown macro masterclass for the members in the Fit Body program, really breaking this down in a cohesive way that's easy to understand. So just to bring everything back together and give you a quick summary and recap. Number one, with the mindset, you already have six-pack abs. So again, you don't need to work on building them. By reversing the metabolic slowdown, you can then begin to reveal them. Number two, with the exercise, we want to focus on metabolic boosting, type 2 muscle fiber training, exercise. And then number three is the body type nutrition. By following that, you're going to begin to help reverse the metabolic slowdown that occurs, boost your metabolism, and the visceral fat will begin to fall off. And then the washboard abs that are underneath will begin to reveal themselves, just like they did for Danny, just like they did for Sal, for Bert, Anthony, and Ted. So that's all I had for today. I did want you to know that I am doing a Black Friday special throughout the end of this month, and we still have 3 spots available for that. So what we're doing for the Black Friday special is you can either get the rest of the holidays the next month on us, and then the following 3, essentially you can get the rest of the holidays of December on us, and then start your 3 months in January. Or if you'd like, you can start your 3 months in January and get that next month free. So again, it's when you get 3 months, you get 1 month free, essentially is the Black Friday special that we're doing. So if you'd like to learn more about that and see if there would even be a good fit and have a preliminary conversation, message me the word Black Friday and we could chat a bit more about how everything would work there. So I'm going to stick around for some Q&A. Wow, there's a lot of you guys tuning in here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Bert, what's going on? Ray, what's up? Scott, what's going on? Chris, appreciate you guys tuning in. I'd love to hear from you. Just open Q&A, anything that you guys have in regards to fitness questions. I'm going to stick around for 3 minutes and hang out with you guys today. 2 minutes now. 2 minutes and hang out with you guys today. So ask your questions down below, and I'll be happy to answer them. Chris, I'm glad that you found this valuable. My man, it's good to see you guys here. The party, guys, on Facebook. I went a little fast. I like to say I don't talk fast. You listen slow. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I'd love to hear from you guys. Questions you have, things you want to chat about. I'm going to stick around for a couple minutes here. Peter, very helpful. Thanks for this. Thank you, man. I'm glad that you found this valuable. Again, you might have to go back and review some of this. Totally fine. It's going to be available for the replay. I caught the end of this. Is there a replay? Yeah, Vinny, thank you for tuning in live, by the way. Appreciate you being here. And there is going to be a replay. It'll be up right after I end my live stream, so you can catch it. Guys, 60 seconds. I'd love to answer any questions you have. Very clear and inspiring, easy to follow. Good, man. I like to have a 1-2 punch. Just short, sweet, to the point, easy to follow. No complicated, sciencey mumbo jumbo. No jargon. Just basic terms. Scott, how much water do you drink in a day? That's a good question. I personally drink around 5 to 6 liters of water per day. But that's just where I feel my personal best. What's optimal for most guys is you want to drink around a gallon of water a day, which is around 3.7 liters. But what you need to drink to function well is at least half of your body weight in ounces of water per day. So Scott, as an example, if you weigh 170, you want to drink at least 80, what is that? 90, 85? Is that 85? 85. You want to drink at least 85 ounces of water. Optimally, if you drink 3.7 liters of water, the reason why that's important, Scott, is because the process of breaking down fat in your body is called lipolysis, right? So think about apoptosis, right? We learned this in biology classes, the self-destruction of a cell, right? So lipolysis is the breaking down of a cell, right? Now, the first step in lipolysis, the breaking down of the fat cell, is something called hydrolysis, which requires water. So when you're in a caloric deficit, when you're in a negative energy balance, and the more water you're drinking, the easier it is for your body to break down body fat. So not only does water provide you with energy, clarity, not only does it oxygenate all of your cells, is it really healthy overall, but it's actually required to help you break down body fat. So great question, Scott. So again, you want to optimally drink a gallon of water a day as a man. 3.7 liters is what that comes out to. At the very least, half your body weight in ounces. Your pee should be clear. Isn't another way to gauge whether or not you're having enough water. Your pee should always be clear all day, every day. Jim, is that about half of a kiddie pool? That is about half of a kiddie pool. At least the one in my building. No, I'm totally kidding. Yes. Yeah. Cool. Good question. Guys, any other last second questions? I'd love to answer. And again, if you're catching this at the tail end, we are doing a Black Friday special. We filled 6 out of the 9 spots for new members. So we have 3 spots left up until Wednesday. So again, if that's something that you're looking to do, if you want to get started sooner rather than later and learn how you can get the rest of this year on us, shoot me a text with the word Black Friday, shoot me a message, and then we'll talk and we'll see if there would be a good fit. Jim, what do you think of carb cycling? That's a good question. That could be for a whole separate video, but I'll answer that quickly here now. So carb cycling is just a tool, especially used during a fat loss phase where you have one day of higher carbs, one day of lower carbs. The purpose of carb cycling is twofold. Number one is to keep your insulin in check, because when you're training, you need more carbs because carbs are your body's fuel for energy. On the days when you're not training, you don't need as much energy, so you don't need as much carbs. So that's why you have a higher day and a lower day. The other part of a carb cycle that's cool is that you can eat more carbs on specific days. So if you're going to work out on Friday, you can have more carbs, and it kind of feels a little bit more indulgent in that way. In regards to a weight loss standpoint though, Jim, in regards to let's say over a 12-week period, let's say you had somebody eating on a meal plan, the exact same amount of calories, the exact same amount of food every single day, versus you had someone carb cycling where they had high days and low days and high days and low days. Over a 12-week period, there's no difference in the amount of fat those two people would lose, as long as the calories on a weekly basis were the same and the protein on a weekly basis was the same. There would be no difference. It's more of a preference whether or not it's something that you can stick with and something that you like and enjoy as a lifestyle. So I personally have carb cycled for my competition. That's really what most people use it for. It's used for competitors that are competing. Just to keep energy levels high, because when you're competing, your body fat percentage gets very low and it really zaps you of any energy. So I've done it before. I thought it was cool. I personally don't do it now, but I'm also not competing right now at the moment. Vinny, what's the downside of working out on consecutive days? That's a great question, Vinny. So it depends. I mean, there's not a downside if you do it the right way. There could be a downside if we're doing it the wrong way. So as an example, if you're training a certain body part, let's say chest as an example, and you go back to back, you train chest and then you train chest again, then chest again. What happens is your body, when you break the muscle down, because that's what you're doing when you're exercising it, you're breaking the muscle down, your body requires around 24 to 48 hours, really 48 hours to fully heal. And what happens is you're at a baseline before you go to the gym, before you begin lifting weights, even if it's at home, you're at a baseline. After you go down, you dip down. And then based on how you recover and eat and sleep, you get stronger. So it's like this curve. The problem is if you work out consecutive muscles on consecutive days, is you go down and you never recover. So you either keep ending up plateaued at the same baseline, or in the worst case scenario, you get weaker because you're not allowing your body to recover. So it just depends, because you could do push-ups every day. It's enough for where your body can recover within a 24-hour period. If you're doing bench press heavy Monday and you try it again Tuesday, your body's going to suffer. So it just depends on what you're doing. If you're doing pull-ups and push-ups, things like that, where your body can recover within 24 hours, there's no problem. And then the other aspect of it is if you're doing like push-pull legs, where you're working chest, tries, shoulders, which are your push muscles, then you're working your back and buys, which are your pull muscles, and then you're working your legs, and you're doing that consecutively, that's fine, because you're giving your body enough time to recover between muscle groups. So you could do push, pull, legs, back to back to back, take a day off, and then do it all over again. So you could do like a 6-day split. That's something I personally did for my competition, as an example. So there's no downside in regards to if you do it correctly. I would just say if you're exercising properly with weights and weightlifting, 3 days is more than enough. And you shouldn't feel like wanting to do more than that if you're really hitting it hard. 3 days is more than enough. And every other day I find works best, but it just depends on your lifestyle. Some guys love going to the gym. They just like being in there, like feeling the endorphins. So as long as you're giving your body enough time to recover and you're feeling good and your libido's in check and you feel like you're waking up with energy and it's not like you're waking up tired and groggy, and like it's a lot of it comes down to your own personal recovery, because everyone is so different. But to really answer that question, the downside is if you're working out super heavy back to back, you're not having enough time to recover. But if you're doing it correctly, then it's fine. Awesome. Appreciate the questions. Guys, this was awesome. Well, if there are no other further questions, I hope you guys found some value from this. If you did, there are a couple of ways that you can help. One is you can like or heart this video. And two is you can share this with just one other person that you believe would also find it helpful. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have the best night of your entire life. Bert, thank you for tuning in live. Ray, thank you for tuning in live. Scott, thank you for tuning in live. Chris, yes, I really am going to thank each one of you individually. Thank you for tuning in live. Peter, thank you for tuning in live. Jim, thank you for tuning in live. Vin, appreciate you tuning in live, sir. I hope you guys have the best night of your entire life, and I will see you in my next video.